All right, aloha, free radicals of all shapes, sizes, colors, denominations, orientations. Welcome back to my fledgling channel, the channel that is causing turmoil, angst, confusion, chaos all across various platforms, YouTube, and now Rockfin. My name is Dave, and I am the Radical Independent. And by the way, here's Tulsi Gabbard being the Radical Independent. Where is she right at this podium? She's at a place called the Problem Solver Convention. No labels. No labels. And I'm going to go off on a tangent. Here we go. So in recent days, I've decided that I really don't want to congregate with hardcore left-wing progressives. And the reason for that is their language, their attitude, their condescension. I could go down a list of things. I almost bailed doing this a few weeks ago because I was so beat up over on Twitter because I dare say things like, I don't know if a third trimester abortion is a good idea. Or something like, I think Tulsi's plan, the Medicare choice plan, is pretty good because people who want to keep their insurance can, and people who have no insurance can get it, can opt in. And by the way, that would save money because billionaires, we wouldn't be financing a billionaire's insurance, health insurance. He can go buy his own. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these are common sense, no label, problem solver solutions. But there are certain progressives, they go on, they get up on their little soapbox, okay? Then they say, well, you can't have any private insurance at all. You need to put them out of business. I don't know. Look, if we could somehow curtail the way private insurance does business, or change the model, or enact laws, we can get the best of all worlds. We can keep a number of people employed who would then become unemployed. And I know nobody wants to shed any crocodile tears for people in the insurance company if they, in the insurance industry, if they lose their job. But isn't the point getting people to work? And I'm not a fan of private insurance. I'm not a fan of big pharma that pretty much runs late night television. If you turn on any program, it's ad after ad after ad. This drug will do this, and then it has 600 side effects, but it may cure your problem. Please, we're advocating for this drug, and they must have millions and millions of dollars for those ads, and they run them pretty much 7 days a week. And that's how we have an opioid crisis. That's how big pharma is controlling things. So what do? Well, you need to enact laws. You don't completely socialize an industry and put a whole bunch of people out of work. And then, by the way, you're going to put people to work in government who have no idea what they're doing. So it's because they've not worked in that field. They're being told this is what you need to manage. Take some notes. We'll give you a crash course, and then you're going to be in charge of this because anybody can do it. See, I don't buy that. I don't buy a lot of things. I've looked at Tulsi's Medicare choice plan, and I don't see where there's a problem. This duplicating coverage thing, which seems to be a stickler for a lot of people. Look, until you get a true single payer, if that's the way you want to go, and then you've still got to worry about doctors and if they're going to participate. This is, again, if you've got nobody to administer the health care, doesn't matter what kind of health care plan you have, and you could say, hey, Dave, in other countries this works. Yeah, it does. And it works to varying degrees, and in some places it's really successful. In other places it's a work in progress like it is here. But we are a greater work in progress because the government has worked with the insurance industry. Okay, like Obamacare, that was an insurance industry gift because, and I worked, by the way, and this is a true story, I worked for a private contractor who was administering the Affordable Care Act, and I worked in a call center. And what I found out doing that is that, magically your subsidy covers 95% of what this policy costs. If the policy costed, I don't know, $1,000 a month, the subsidy would be for like $950. And magically, you'd have to kick in like $50, and then you'd have a copay of like $25 when you went or something. But what the insurance industry did was they jacked their prices up just enough to make the most they could on every ACA subsidy. And so that wasn't a very efficient way of doing it. We can all agree, left and right, that Obamacare was and still kind of is a disaster. I don't think you should be forcing people to pay into something that they're not using. That's why I think if you're a billionaire, you should be able to, be able to fund your own insurance. Tulsi Gabbard, though, across the board, is not going to take the left-right paradigm. She's not gonna just accept it. And this is why I'm not really too fond of a lot of progressive commentators on any platform right now. On independent media, there's a couple I can tolerate. Every so often I watch them and I scratch my head because, again, it's like going to a fundamentalist church where they all speak a language that you don't understand. Most Americans who wake up in the morning don't speak progressive and they don't speak ultra-conservative either. They speak in a normal tongue and they converse with one another and they argue about things like, wow, I went to college and I've got $22,000 in debt. And they told me that college was going to guarantee me a really good job when I got out by going to this college. And now I'm strapped with all this debt. So how do you fix it? Well, you could forgive it, right? But who do we forgive? Do we forgive everybody? Do we forgive some of the debt? I mean, these are questions that we have to look at. And where would the money come from to actually forgive the debt? Now, I can be a wise ass and say, well, just like Wall Street back in September, why don't we just print a bunch of money and give it to these people? Bail them out. I'm for that. That's a pretty radical and progressive idea. But then you got people shouting that, hey, I paid my student loan debt myself. I worked hard, blah, blah, blah. I didn't bite off more than I can chew. And there are circumstances, though, that, okay, you're right, but here's the other side of that. If you're an 18-year-old kid and you're sitting there and you're being recruited by whatever, and you're in your guidance counselor's office and you're being told this is what you have to do, you're 18. You don't know anything. That's why I laugh at all these younger progressive type people that haven't lived yet. They haven't lived. They don't know. They haven't encountered these things. All they know is that they want to be rebellious and they want to contribute to the anarchy and, they want to learn how to toss a Molotov cocktail and so forth. Guess what? That's going to rip the country apart. It is, and it will. So I'm just letting folks know where I stand because, I came out of the closet a while ago as somebody who used to be a Trump supporter who now doesn't really have a political home. On Twitter, I say I'm a political refugee, and I'm still a political refugee. But Tulsi Gabbard is the only candidate that I see out there who wants to bridge the divide and sit down and solve problems. The fact that no other Democrats went to this problem solver convention speaks volumes about what they're most concerned about. Most of them are concerned about getting Trump out of office, like right now. Rather than, is it because they're so weak as candidates? Because now that accusation is starting to gain some traction. That the Democrats don't have any strong candidates who are at the top of the field. And now Mayor Pete is being literally elevated to the top of the field. Which is mind-blowing because he offers nothing. He's maybe a slightly sharper version of Beto O'Rourke. All right? And as far as his experience goes, he was the mayor of a city and he's done a crappy job managing that city. There's tons of poverty. There's class warfare within the city, haves and have-nots, and the disparity. If you look at some of those stats in that particular town, you're going to find that, again, income inequality and disparity is rampant. And this is who you're going to nominate. and this is a guy who's supposedly going to bring everybody together. No, he's a politically correct nominee. The fact that he's gay is getting more traction probably than anything else. His policies don't matter. I mean, as long as he's not Trump, he's nicer, and he fits part of this identity politics thing, even though nobody seems to care that the guy is probably kind of definitely deep state op, definitely went to meetings to try to thwart Bernie Sanders. If you dig deep into, he sat in on those meetings, and he is one of those candidates who is out there to take away just oxygen from people like Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders. So why would you vote for that? Why? Because, number one, you like Joe Biden, but he's too old and he's cognitively challenged and he's not going to cross the finish line, so you need a backup. And there's your backup has emerged. It wasn't Kamala Harris. They tried like heck. Tulsi did a nice number on her. There are other candidates that have risen. Elizabeth Warren, they're a little... Here's the thing about Warren. Progressives are worried about Warren, that she's not going to be progressive enough. Liberals or neo-libs are worried about her because they think she's going to be too progressive. So eventually she's going to tank. And strategists like myself think she'd be a horrible candidate to go up against Trump with the whole Pocahontas fake Native American DNA test thing hanging over her head, and Trump will pound that relentlessly. And by the way, he'll gain a lot of traction on it. He will. Whether you think it's offensive or not. Ooh, he's going to tweet something about Elizabeth Warren. Well, is it because it's true, or because the way he tweets is stupid? Because we know that both of those things are true, but he's certainly going to get enough people to agree with him and say, no, we can't have her, and she's an elitist. She doesn't understand the working class. She doesn't even know how to drink a beer correctly. It looked awkward. Everything looked awkward and staged. Tulsi Gabbard, on the other hand, is not staged. She's not awkward. She's real. You understand that she is somebody who will advocate on your behalf. Not only that, she'll listen to everybody. And so this is why you've got, these stations or these networks out there, whether they're independent or they're bought, like TYT now is a bot channel, BOUGHT, and maybe BOT. I don't know, maybe both. But what's different about what they're doing when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard is everybody's trying to brand her now. Oh, she's a stealth conservative. She's a warmonger. She wanted to go after terrorists, which makes her a warmonger. Ridiculous, just ridiculous claims. And again, the centrists among us, not that there are a ton of centrists, but we'll call it this, the independents who aren't politically affiliated, who can't bring themselves to be in either political party, like myself. Currently, I'm registered as a Democrat because I have to be in Florida for the primary, but once that's done, the form will be filled out, unenrolled, unaffiliated, independent, because that'll, there's no way. There's just no way that I can be a Democrat with what I know about the Democratic Party. Now, if Tulsi Gabbard becomes the president, I might register as a Democrat at that point because I can say, look, she's a Democrat. She's my kind of Democrat. She's reformed the party. And if that does happen, then, I will be happy to be a Democrat, although I still might register as an independent because the majority of Democrats are still going to be these people who are for a whole bunch of things that I'm against. And they care, and their proportionality on issues. Like, they'll care about this one little issue. I never forgot during the campaign against Mitt Romney and Obama how much focus was given on the cost of women's birth control. It just blew my mind that was an issue, a major issue, when Americans were losing their homes, when that financial crisis never really relented. It kept going for most of Obama's term. I've been to food pantries, and I went to a lot of food pantries during this time period because we were struggling. And I just marvel at the lack of focus. And neither candidate, Obama's, yeah, we'll get you, make sure you have your birth control. And Romney's like, no, we're not going to pay for So that's though, and people were like, "Wow, that's a huge issue." I mean, Obama cares about women, and I'm thinking, does he care enough to feed women, to house women, and to clothe women? I mean, and so this is the stuff I've endured. Being on the right, being kind of libertarian, and knowing that the Libertarian Party, although is a nice alternative, it ain't going anywhere because they're really just throwing the free market at everybody, saying, well, you need to fend for yourselves, and private charities, they're going to pick up the slack. They don't pick up the slack because everybody is greedy. In a perfect libertarian world, the libertarian people who are at the top would be very generous because they'd be thankful, but they're not. They're greedy. They keep the money. So we need laws. We need laws to balance that out a bit. So anyway, Tulsi Gabbard here speaking at the No Labels Problem Solver Convention. Why? Because she wants to make it clear. You're not going to label me. You're not going to tell me what I have to think on any particular issue, whether it's, allowing voters or felons to vote, which was a big thing while they're still in jail. I had that argument when I first started this channel, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to resonate with people. That's like the birth control thing. It's not a big ticket item, and there are a lot of people who are going to think, well, these people are in jail. Shouldn't they be in jail and worried about serving their sentence and getting out? Good behavior, get out, and then you can vote. I have no problem once I get out, you can allow former felons to vote. I mean, if your state wants to enact a law that says they can't or they can, it's not a life or death issue. But I was told by many progressives that that issue was extremely important. And I kind of just thought to myself, no, it's just not. And the same people who want to decriminalize border crossings, I go, okay, what country are we again? We're America, right? We're Americans. Even Tulsi Gabbard said, if we don't have a border, we really don't have a country. And it's very simple for most people. But this is why I can't hang with a lot of progressives, because they say just insane stuff. Yeah, do we need immigration reform? Do we need to be compassionate when refugees are coming here? Yes, we also need a process to screen everybody to make sure who is actually coming here and what their motivations are and so forth. It just, somebody knocks on your door, you might ask them a few questions before you let them in the house. That's all I'm saying. Streamline the process. They want to work here, great. They're coming here to flee from death and destruction that our country has caused in their country, either through war or sanctions. Okay, I'm with you on that. But you got to ask the questions. I mean, again, you need an ID to do certain things in this country. It's like the basic functions of society. They always say it's undocumented workers or immigrants. Well, guess what? They need documentation at the very least. So, I just figured I'd vent a little bit. This video isn't a cheerleading video necessarily for Tulsi, but the reason I can support Tulsi is she's not insane on any one issue. She's nuanced. She'll listen to you. She's very progressive when there needs to be some progressivism. She's very independent when there needs to be some, and she's even a little conservative at times on things like third trimester abortions and a few other issues. I think she understands that people can disagree but still solve the problems. And there are a lot of Democrats in our country right now who don't see it that way, who see we just have to throw this guy Trump out and then the world will, it's tilted on and off its axis, that it will regain its position and everything will be fine and unicorns will float around, butterflies and so forth. It's not going to work that way. We're going to still have the same problems. In fact, if a Democrat wins like Biden or Mayor Pete, they're going to be given a credit card or a blank check to run the military the way they see fit and run it all over the world and create more jobs for people who want to go overseas and fight for their country and possibly die, and for weapons dealers and weapons contractors who are just going to salivate because they've got some deep state op in the White House who's just going to wink and nod at every general that comes up. Now, again, they set the policy. The generals, they're not the ones in charge, so they're the ones that can say yes or no to the generals. But if you're in the business of war and that is your job, and you believe you need to do that job, you want a president who's going to continue. Just like if I'm in a certain business, I'm hoping that business doesn't close down, right? And in the same sense, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, would be closing a lot of doors. She'd be closing a lot of businesses down inside the MIC, and that's a frightening thing for people who have made money for decades off of people suffering and dying. So, in any event, I'm done with this video. Don't forget, folks, check me out too over on Rockfin. I've got different videos over there. And also Patreon. If you can support me on Patreon, there's a link on the banner here on my YouTube channel. And also, we do PayPal via my email address over at GMX. So please, please, oh please, if you can support this channel, it's truly loved and appreciated by yours truly. I have bills and expenses like everybody else, and I may have to show folks the revenue number right now for my channel. It's this channel. It's embarrassing. It's about half, less than half of what it peaked at a couple of months ago, and it continues to go down. So I have no idea why that is. I think viewership is up, subscribers now over 7,000. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how this works sometimes. I mean, some days you wake up and you go, okay, that's pretty good revenue. Then other days you wake up and you go, why am I doing all this work? Why am I talking and putting content together every day? It's just, I've got to earn some kind of living. That's what this boils down to. So again, though, thanks for watching. The sky isn't falling, but I'll let you know when the sky really starts to fall. And then, we might have to have some kind of share-a-thon or something. I'll go live and then, we can do super chat. But until then, just watch the videos, support the channel, and support, especially if you haven't given money to Tulsi Gabbard yet, make sure you do that because she needs to get into that December debate. All right, see you soon.